I'm delighted that this season of Crazy Sexy Food is sponsored by premium appliance manufacturer Miele. Over the last few years, I have got close to this incredible brand through Tom Kerridge's Pub in the Park Festival, where I've had the pleasure to watch and eat dishes prepared by some of the UK's finest chefs using Miele. I was also invited to a special event by the brand at the fabulous S10 Park, which features Miele throughout, with lunch cooked by one of the UK's most exciting and innovative restaurateurs, Tommy Banks. If you are on a kitchen journey, I would highly recommend a visit to one of its experience centres, where you will not only receive bespoke advice, but can also join one of the many courses to experience its appliances firsthand, including getting to enjoy lots of delicious food. Excitingly, it's opening a new Mayfair store, which is just opposite the Ritz, a great way to spend an afternoon. This year is an exciting milestone for the family-owned company, who will be celebrating its 125th anniversary. And while Miele continues to innovate, it stays true to its motto, Immer besser, which means forever better. The majority of its products are put through tough durability tests during the development phase to simulate 20 years' use. For ovens, this includes opening and closing the door 24,000 times. To celebrate the partnership, Miele is kindly giving my listeners 10% off its fabulous appliances on miele.co.uk or through its experience centres until September with the code CrazyMiele.
This episode is truly special as I welcome the Queen of the Seas and the star of the hugely successful Bravo series, Below Deck, Captain Sandy Yawn. You'll know her calm, collected yet assertive way of managing a crew upon the lavish super yachts she leads from season to season. Aside from her life on the water, Sandy is also a businesswoman and a public speaker, and she's zooming in remotely to chat with me. Yes, I'm a fangirl. I'm not ashamed as I sit here in room 227 at the Four Seasons Hotel London at Park Lane. Sandy, welcome to Crazy Sexy Food.
Thank you for having me. And I have to say, London is one of my favorite cities on the planet.
Is it really?
Yes.
Why do you say that? Tell me what you know about it.
People, you know, there's the history there, but also the people. I think you can have beautiful cities, but if the people are rude, why would you go back?
When was the last time you were here?
It was last year. I did a whole Hey You, tour. Yes.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, we want you back as soon as possible. And you're zooming in, you're calling in you're in Jacksonville, right?
That's right.
In Florida.
My sister's backyard.
For anyone that might just be listening to this and not watching the actual video, it's a sight to behold. She's sitting in front of a beautiful swimming pool. The sun is shining. It looks divine.
I'm born and raised in Florida and building a house in Ponte Vedra, Florida, which is near here, a town called Nocatee. And at my sister's, while we're building the house, headed back to Colorado soon, and then a full-on move back to Florida in June.
But you're wearing a jacket.
Yes, because they had a cold, it's North Florida, so it's near Georgia, so they had a cold front move through last night.
Sandy, before we start, I have to tell you something hilarious that happened this morning when we got to the hotel. After 10 seasons of doing a podcast, I have never had a venue send me a cake and a card.
Nice.
With your name on it. They have sent you cake. They've sent you a lovely letter to say that they hope that you enjoy the podcast with me. I'm sorry that you can't have this beautiful cake. So I was actually going to have a little taste of it on your behalf.
I love that because I love cake.
Well, look how beautiful it is. I don't want it to fall, but look at this. It's like a work of art.
Plus the Four Seasons. What can I say? I mean, you can even take your dog. Like, we stayed in the Four Seasons in Vegas, and they brought a dog bowl, a dog bed.
Oh. They've also got a dog menu.
Yes, and a dog menu for room service.
It's great. I mean, I love it. Why not? It's the Four Seasons. This is delicious, by the way. It's white chocolate. I think it's got some toffee in it. So I'll have the calories for you. Don't worry. It's fine.
I don't really count the calories. I honestly I just make sure that I get in the exercise.
Absolutely.
So I can eat the cake.
Well, exactly, of course.
Yes.
So it's morning where you are. You've got some food with you. What are you eating?
So I had a heart attack in the past, and I'm eating a heart-healthy breakfast, which is oats with raisins, a lot of omega, some walnuts, and it's
She loves it. And is
and
that
it's
a
filling every
is this
morning.
a daily meal every morning? Same thing. So you quite like routine.
I like routine, but I like variety. So even though I have the oatmeal, I'll have eggs, bacon. I have the heart healthy, and then I counteract it with the not so heart healthy.
So when did the heart attack happen?
2018.
And did that massively change the way that you sort of looked at your nutrition and your diet and the way you led your life?
Honestly, yes, but it wasn't because of that. It was because of high blood pressure. And listen, I didn't know what hypertension meant. You know what I mean? So when I'd go to the doctor for a checkup or whatever, they'd say, "Do you have hypertension in your family?" I'm like, "No." Well, I do, but I didn't know. I never really gave it a thought. So it was high blood pressure. And
Interesting.
I was in SoulCycle in Beverly Hills, started having a heart attack, and I called an Uber driver instead of 911 because I didn't want to be seen walking out of SoulCycle in Beverly Hills getting into an ambulance. Can you imagine that, Uber driver?
Wow. So
Yeah.
what, you managed to get yourself back home or to wherever you were staying, and then did you call an ambulance?
No, I would walked out of SoulCycle because I knew I was having. So I had what's called SCAD, spontaneous artery dissection, and spontaneous coronary artery dissection, which is a tear. So it's like a tire on your car has 3 layers, right? Your artery has 3 layers, and I had a tear. It wasn't like a massive like heart attack, but my arm went numb. All the typical. I couldn't like swallow. I knew because I had heard a speaker on heart health the month before. If I didn't hear that woman speak, I would have never recognized the signs. 80% of women can prevent dying if they just pay attention to the signs. We're not like men where it's a typical ouch pain. It's a very subtle pain. It starts in your gut.
That's so interesting and actually so important to know.
Yes, it's
I don't think I would know the signs.
no. If I didn't hear the speaker, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Yeah. So before we sort of get back to your childhood that I'm quite interested about, we've just done the latest season of Below Deck Mediterranean, which I have to say was actually one of my favorites. It's a very chaotic season. I mean, it starts off with you actually sending someone off the boat within like the first 2 episodes. How was the season for you, and how was it being back in Europe?
Amazing. It was incredible because I love Europe. I love the people in Europe, and I always get to go through London.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. And any filming scheduled for the rest of this year for Below Deck?
Well, we don't really reveal that because we sign contracts, so you just got to stay tuned.
You have sort of like your filming schedule. Are you still doing charters away from filming, or is everything that you're doing now kind of mainly for the show?
Yes. So I have to maintain my license. So,
Right.
so to work on a boat, you have to be approved by an insurance company. So it's easier to do that as a delivery, but I don't do charter, like day charters for sure, but not weeks at a time.
Take it back. Born and raised in Florida, I want you to sort of paint the picture for me. I want to know what life is like growing up. I want to know sort of who was in the house, and also kind of talk about the food. Who was cooking? Was food important? Kind of break it down.
Yeah. So I grew up in Florida. My history, there's farmers. So fresh vegetables, produce, fruits, orange trees. I drink fresh squeezed orange juice every day of my life, still today.
Gosh.
So it was a very healthy environment. But although Southern Florida, it's the South, they love to fry food. So everything's fried. And, it's that rich fried Southern food offset with the fresh vegetables and fruit. So was it healthy? You had a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But it was, biscuits and gravy, typical Southern food. But we played outside, so we didn't have cell phones or anything like that. So we played sports. And so we never really gained weight because we were running everywhere. We didn't have, money. So wherever we went by bicycle or by foot. So we were constantly exercising, not intentional, just as a kid growing up. And plus, we had my parents divorced. My stepdad, we had a meat business. We had a hay business. We had 7 horses. We had 42 dogs. My dad was a hunter. So we had to get up early in the morning, feed the dogs. We had 12 acres of land. And we walked a mile to our bus stop. So again, we didn't have money, so we walked. So we would eat a lot. Fresh baked. My mom was a baker, fresh baked food, but we walked to school. We walked to the bus stop. It was awesome. I miss it. I had horses.
It sounds like the most beautiful childhood.
Yeah.
It's sort of like I think a lot of the kids today wouldn't know what that life is like.
Yeah. It's awesome.
You know?
I have to say, we weren't like caught up in the social media, the phones in our face. We actually had conversations, and we played with our neighborhood kids, and it was every day we went horseback riding or motorcycle riding. So we did it all. It was cool.
And so if you had to sort of pick a dish or two that sort of really represents your childhood, I know you mentioned the biscuits and gravy. What other dishes was your mum making?
Pies, keto pies. Like my mom was a baker, like the cakes, the pies, the desserts. I'm a sweet eater. I would eat the cake before the dinner, so the actual food that I really liked that she made was pork chops. So I loved her. So our pork chops were cut thin. She would cook them in the oven with tomato. So it was fresh tomatoes. So we made our own tomato gravy. So it was pork chops with rice and tomato gravy, and always fresh, like mustard greens. Like we ate the mustard greens, which collard greens are more bitter. Yeah. Mustard greens are not so bitter. And of course, a biscuit.
Oh, it sounds delicious.
Yeah.
I want to be at your house. What I really want to get into is sort of this conversation of the maritime industry, because it's actually an industry, I think, before Below Deck was a topic that people didn't really talk about much, unless maybe you were living in the environment like Florida where, it was quite prevalent. But what were your aspirations growing up? Did you know about yachting and what that all entailed?
We always had small boats. So my family fished a lot. So we water skied behind, a 17-foot bass boat. And I didn't really know about the yachting industry because I had an addiction issue early on. I got sober at the age of 17. I got arrested at the age of 17, DUI and all that stuff. And then I got sober at the age of 25. So once I did that, I went to what's called vocational rehabilitation, and they sent me to school. So I went to diving school to learn to be a scuba diver, which was really cool because that's a living. And then I discovered a part-time job cleaning boats. And then doing that, a guy offered me a job because he saw my work ethic, and he sent me to sea school.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
As they say.
Because I thought you get paid, you're working in the sun, you're getting a physical workout, and you get to go on boat rides. And you get paid.
I mean, what's not to love?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sort of, in those days, and I know you have spoken up about this, that the industry is lacking a female presence. What was it like in those days? Were there many women sort of that you were working with?
No, there were very few. I met a woman named Anne Clayhorn who was from Australia, a sailing captain. That's the only other woman I knew at the time I started, but no, there wasn't. And thanks to Bravo, they put this show on air. It's showing women that there are jobs at sea, and it's not the men's fault. It's the women who want to have babies. They're not going to leave their children and go to sea. So maritime is at sea jobs. Marine industry is on land jobs. Like it includes sea and land. And you can get a job on land and not leave your kids in the marine industry. You could be a yacht sales broker. You could be a yacht manager. Like there are so many jobs out there in our industry. We're 50,000 people short today in the marine industry. Yes.
Wow. God, I didn't even realize that. I know you're open about sort of talking about your sobriety, and I know you've just mentioned it, But, so that was, quite a young age at 17. You're saying that you've been arrested, you become sober at 25. How has that journey served you, especially as, you've got a very serious job. You're not just the responsibility for yourself, but for the crew, for the guests, for the actual yacht. There's a lot resting on your shoulders.
Yes, and they trust me because I was a mess. Like, I was that kid that was always in trouble, and my stepdad was a cop. Worst kids ever.
Oh, wow.
So, I got on that train and then I changed, right? I got clean. I got sober. And then I became a very trustworthy human being. I was accountable for my actions. I learned to take responsibility when I did something wrong. I didn't learn to, project and not take accountability. So that's huge. And I became this human being that I always admired in others, but didn't know how to get there. When someone takes the time with someone and you see how they are in society, you go, wow, I want to emulate that. Well, you got to take that action, which is a growth period. And I did that, and a guy offered me a full-time job. I wasn't a convicted felon. They were all misdemeanors. And I went to sea school. I have a good, clean record in the maritime industry. And 35 years later, I'm still doing it. And I love it. I love it. I love inspiring people. In fact, because of TV, I started a charity, and we've got money. We created this in-school curriculum for public schools for kids to have an alternative to college, because not everyone's college bound. And you can get into the maritime industry. We're rolling it out first in Florida. We're going to take it into the UK, and we're going to take it global.
That's so exciting.
For
and
free.
I think something, wow.
For free.
But this needs to happen because, I do think it's things like shows like I've just said, like Below Deck. Before the show started, what did I really know? And I know that, like, coming from London, it's maybe not a conversation that we have much of. We're not, aside from the river, we're not, by the water. It's not an industry that's kind of promoted to us from a young age.
Right.
But we need to get young people into these kinds of industries because they can be really fun, but also incredibly rewarding.
Yes, and you have shipyards. You guys build boats. You have Sunseeker. You have all these shipyards that are in Southampton, throughout the UK, and it's a big industry in the United Kingdom. And the Europe's right there. So most of the majority of the cruising, if you want maritime, is in the Mediterranean.
The pace of modern life can make us feel like we're always on the go, but Odyssey believes that slow food is the necessary antidote to the restlessness of it all. It brings us together, feeds conversation, creates new traditions, new rituals, and new stories. This is very much the ethos of Crazy Sexy Food, feeding conversations through food, and good food at that. I'm so happy to be partnering with Odyssey on this season of the podcast. They've been scouring Greece and further afield for the finest food producers since 1991, bringing the highest quality flavours that the Mediterranean has to offer. Their range is carefully curated to include hand-selected, traditionally cured olives, award-winning honey from lovingly tended bees, and premium quality oils sourced from only the most acclaimed regional producers. Food is a way to get back in touch with the things that matter most and connect on new and deeper levels. And so the lovely people at Odyssey are offering Crazy Sexy Food listeners 15% off at odyssey.com using the code CSF15.
I do want to go back to Below Deck because there are a few quite important questions I do have to ask you about it. I mean, this is kind of what sort of elevated you as a sort of personality, as a captain. How did the actual opportunity come about?
Oh, the showrunner and a comedian are friends, Monica, and the comedian said, "You need a woman captain," to the showrunner, Nadine Rajavi, and she goes, "Oh, yeah, right, there's a woman." And she didn't think I was real. And then she Googled me and she goes, "Oh my God, she's real." So she reached out to me. And, I wasn't going to do the show because I was like, it'll ruin my career. And I didn't know. Finally, I thought, when a door of opportunity opens, walk through it. That's what I told myself. And you can always turn around and walk back out the door. You don't have to stay. And that's what I did. And I'm so grateful I did because I was given this platform to help others. We are going to monetize, right? That's what we're all meant to make money, but at the
Yeah, but
same
that's
time,
life. That's business, you know.
yes, and at the same time, you're actually changing lives. You are too, so it's really cool that we have this opportunity.
Absolutely. And, listen, we do live in a world of sort of reality TV or scripted reality, whatever you want to call it. How much of what we see is real? Because, some of the things that happen in from season to season, some are quite serious, when you're having to either remove crew off of a boat or, there are guests who are becoming obnoxious or drunk, or, all the different things that you're dealing with. How much of it is actually real life?
All of it. Our show is
Wow.
all real because we're doing a job. You can't script a job. We're taking lives at sea, and those people act like that. So when you add alcohol, and they're living together, they're working together, they're living together, and it's 24/7. So imagine being in the house with your coworkers 24/7, and then add alcohol on top of it, and then hookups and breakups, and that one's seeing that one, and now the next they're in the other bunk. It's like it's.
I mean, I did have to laugh on this recent season. You did slightly put your foot in it with a couple people.
I had no idea.
I could tell.
It's the upstairs, downstairs. It's Downton Abbey.
That's what
Yes.
I love. That's what I love.
Yes.
And I think that's why people like it. It is that kind of like upstairs, downstairs dialogue,
Yes.
and the behaviors and the relationships. And that's probably why Downton Abbey did so well as well.
Right.
But I think something that I sort of take away, particularly watching you and what you do, is you take your job very seriously. Like, okay, yeah, this is great. This is a hit TV series. It comes with all of those perks and that glamour and all of that. But take that all away for a second. As you've just said, this is a real job. This is real people's lives at sea. Being on the sea can be dangerous.
That's right.
And the responsibility is on you. But I think you as a captain, your managerial skills are very admirable for me because you're fair, but you lead with integrity. You want to teach, but also, mind my French, you take no bullshit. And I think that there's a fine balance there to be able to do that.
Yes. And I think all of my experiences as a mess back in the day and how I was treated, I thought to myself, I'll never be that human being to someone else. So what I do is treat people how I want to be treated. And then there's a line. I always approach things with fairness. What's fair? I had a builder that took all of our money. So one of the people I called and said, I had to pay another impact tax. And I'm like, how is this fair? I was talking to the CEO of a company that I had to pay the impact tax to. And I just have worked for very wealthy people. And I've learned so many things from them. At the same time, fairness is really the key. Just be fair. And I always tell people, how do you want to be treated? So when you approach someone that's made a mistake, they're already feeling bad. In their mind, they're thinking they're getting fired. So why don't you, when they're a mess, build them back up and give them... It's like leadership isn't about leading people. It's about people following you. Just like when people go to war, the leader's up front and they're following. And it's creating that following that really matters by who you are in society, who you are in, who I am as a captain. So I have their back. I correct them when they need correcting and course correct. And then I build them up. And they don't want to disappoint me because I'm invested in them. And that's really the key. It's like invest your time.
But also they then have that respect for you.
Yes.
And that's really important. But sort of then where do you draw that line? I guess with the role as a captain and I guess a role in life, at what point are you being pushed and you're like, okay, no, enough is enough. Like you've now you've crossed the line.
So I think what's hard for people, especially when you work and live together, is the friendship line. And there's a line.
Mm.
And so I had to learn that a long time ago because people will stop respecting you in a way of leadership, right? So you have to say, no, this is your job. You're an awesome human being. We can be friends on the outside. And some people you're not friends with. So it's a fine line that the person in charge has to figure out.
you've got it down to a T, Sandy. So don't worry.
This
is a perfect time before I actually bring the conversation towards the food in the yachting industry. My food has just arrived, and I'm going to tell you what I've ordered. And this is my favorite. This is one of my favorite things to eat in the world. I don't know if you know, by the way, I'm actually pregnant at the moment. So I'm just thank you. I'm just kind of semi enjoying myself a little bit more than usual. Yes. I've got a club sandwich.
That looks delicious. That looks so good.
The club sandwich originates from New York City. It's really big. I don't know how I'm going to fit this one in my mouth elegantly. So I might.
That's very American-like.
I might just look at it and I might just pick at it. But I might just do the full thing after. There is a bit of bread here on the side, so I might have a bit of that. But yeah, that looks incredible. The Four Seasons know how to do a club sandwich.
Yes, absolutely. It's really interesting because on the boat, we always talk about where foods originated from. So we Google. Okay. Yeah, so that's why I knew about the club sandwich. So the hamburger, the pizza, the Cornish pasty, you know what I mean? So.
Oh, yeah. So actually, and this is a very important topic in my eyes, not just because I work in food, but the food on a yacht or on a boat is so important, especially like how the show is edited. They sort of, the meal times are such a central focus, I think, to the episodes.
Yes.
Talk to me about the chefs that you get on board, because this is a big challenge, and there've been some, there's been a mixed bag over the seasons.
Okay, let me begin with, if the Four Seasons food wasn't good, would you ever order room service again?
Wow, here we go. There we go. That's
right.
It.
So why would the chef either makes or breaks a restaurant? It makes or breaks a charter. It's the same. And as a super yacht chef, you have to know every cuisine, not just the restaurant's menu, but you have different clientele every day. It's not one menu. That chef has to be multifaceted in food. And that's why most yacht chefs go to Thailand and train. They go to the UK. They go to Paris. They go to Japan. They go and immerse themselves in the culture to learn how to do the food. Now, the TV show, the best chef we have ever had is from the United Kingdom on our show, too. Ben and Chef Dave. Now, Ben, I only got...
I knew you were going to say them. I knew you were going to say them.
Because Ben, I only had for 2 charters. Chef Dave, I had for a season. He made 5 breads every morning fresh. Keto, vegan. He did that every day. His food was art. Do you know he made these green apples? I go, why are there fake apples on the table?
Yes.
And they were chocolate. I thought they were fake as decor. And I was so upset that someone put fake apples on the table. And Dave goes, they're chocolate, Sandy.
He was a phenomenal chef. I could tell.
Yes.
I mean, he was pushing boundaries. And, listen, I mean, I can't remember what the setup was of his galley, but, there's quite small, some of these kitchens are tiny,
Yes.
You're kind of having to adapt to a very different style of cooking.
But they like it small because they don't have a staff. So they don't have far to walk because it's all about timing. So I was on a boat where the galley was really big and the chef complained. I go, who complains about a big galley? And then they go, it's the timing, it's the heat, it's all of these things that they think about. So from, and that's a very long distance to carry this food, and you want to have all the plates at once. So we incorporate all the crew. And I always say to the chief stew, however he presents his food in the galley is how you present it at the table. So make sure that you know exactly what he told you. Write it down, learn it. I don't care. Record it, practice it. So when you deliver it, that chef's food and your service shines at the table, because that is the that is the most important part of a charter, is the food and the presentation. Yeah. Interior, sure, water sports are fun and they're great. But interior has the pressure more than the deck team. Interior can make or break a charter, period.
Absolutely. Well, and also because of the real simple fact that you are at sea. You're not getting off every night to go to a different restaurant. Like, they need to be bringing it. The standard has to be there. And
right.
as you know, especially in the world we live in now, people have so many different dietaries. I mean, I've got to be honest, when you get those preference sheet meetings and the anxiety that I have, I mean, I'm not a chef, but I love cooking. And I'm thinking, God, I'm just dealing with like my friends coming over for dinner and one of them is a vegetarian. I'm thinking, what am I going to cook? You've got like certain guests coming on, they don't eat eggs, when one doesn't eat fish and one doesn't eat gluten. And it's like, how
Yes.
do you navigate that?
Well,
It's
you do that.
serious.
And I always say to the chef, you have to manage the charter guest expectations. So usually the
Yeah.
primary decides the menu. So you accommodate the vegan, you accommodate the food allergies, and it's a meat, a fish, or a veggie, right? So those three things are the typical ones. But you manage the expectation along with you make sure that you're bringing it because that matters.
I would love for you guys to get Ben back on the show. He hasn't been on in a long time.
I know. He's awesome. We're in it,
He's
like we
great.
stay in touch. We're in each other's life. Him and Kate Chastain. It's so interesting. They didn't come from my show. The two people I'm the closest with, obviously from my show as well, Malia, Katie,
Yeah,
Luca. Like I'm close with a lot of the crew, but from Captain Lee's show, it's Kate and Ben.
honestly, I loved them.
Yeah.
I think it was sort of that kind of got me hooked, and then obviously you sort of have appeared, and I was like, okay, we're in this for the long run now.
Yeah. Yes.
You have been known to kick chefs off a charter as well. How do you approach something like that? Because I feel like food is personal.
Oh my gosh,
You know?
before the show, I made the crew throw the chef his luggage on shore. He was so bad. I'm like, just toss him his suitcase. That was back in the day, like I'll never forget. I was in Barcelona. He was so bad and he was a mess. And I'm
Really?
like, you got to go,
No.
man. So,
Because it's interesting when you do have those moments where, for whatever reason, whether it's your decision or the staff's decision that they want to leave, obviously you have that sort of 1 or 2 days where everyone's having to pick up extra work, etc. I mean, if a chef wanted to just go, what do you do? Like,
oh, I had
there's
that
no
happen.
backup there.
Monaco Grand Prix. I'll never forget it. Had 114 people on board. And the chef, the next day, I'm like, where's the chef? They go, we don't know. So I called him and he was at the airport. He left.
Oh my God.
So our primary chef was on board. This was the chef that we hired for the Grand Prix
Right.
charter. So we scrambled. We got crew from Antibes to come to Monaco. Like we made it happen. And the guests did not know the difference because that's what makes an incredible crew where it can fall apart and you still bring it because you come together as a team. And they did. And I watched it even happen on Below Deck. Remember Matthew
Yeah,
with
yeah,
his
yeah.
knee? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll wheel you around in a chair, Matt. Just cook.
There was also a season that I don't think you were the captain, where the chef did leave and this chief stew had to get involved and start cooking at one point as well. I mean, it was all going off. It was just chaos.
Yeah.
And I was just there like thinking, I don't know how I don't know how to
Yeah,
deal with
that
all
happened
this.
on
I
our
don't know.
charter. He left. And
Wow.
yeah, the crew came together. And I called my brother-in-law and said, how do you do oysters? Because I didn't know.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Sort of, and this is quite interesting. Again, like the way that you're talking, the way that you're kind of like, okay, something's happened. How do we deal with it?
Yeah.
Sort of very nicely brings me on to the book that you recently launched, which is called Be the Calm or Be the Storm. And this details sort of a lot of stuff that you're talking about now about leadership skills, empowering people. That's such a key word here, sort of to navigate a successful life. I guess maybe it's a similar answer to what you said, but where does that mentality come from to want to empower people?
I always think about in my own life. So I talk a lot. I do a lot of public speaking and I talk about self-leadership because remember I said, you don't lead people, they follow you. Right. Yeah. And if you don't do that personal work, then you will be who you are in your role when you're leading people. So if I'm not calm and cool, they're not going to be calm and cool. Right. So if you want a culture of respect, you need to model what that respect looks like. So that's that personal work where you don't lose it in front of them. Colin Powell did a great leadership speech. It was an address to the U.S. and he talked about that when he was in the Army. The other part is like I always look around at the crew because we're at sea, and I think, how can I always say to them, I respect you and I trust you. I don't expect you to respect me or trust me, but you have to respect the position as captain, me as a human. It's my job to earn their respect and trust. And when I do that, they will lay down anything for me because they see that I earn their trust and respect. They just have to respect the authority, right? And that's it, not me as a person. And that's really how I lead my team so that they follow. Be the calm or be the storm came from all my experiences at sea. I had a Red Sea fire, and I'll never forget. Everybody's eyeballs were looking at me in fear, terror. And I thought, you are in charge. You have to stay calm. I talked to myself, and I did. And I followed my training, and I made jokes, and we laughed. In the middle of this chaos, I lightened the mood because I had a British chief stew. That was hilarious. Patricia Elliott, like awesome human being. And we just bantered off of each other. Meanwhile, I'm calling for a rescue from a warship. Who's going to get to us first, the pirates or the warship? And we joked about it. So we lightened the mood because British humor is quite funny. Yeah. And she was making me laugh.
Very sarcastic.
Yes. And we went there and we were the calm in the middle of the storm. It wasn't just me, right? So yes, it began with me, but that was infectious, right? So that then went to the next person, the next person. And yes, I had some people melting down and one girl tried to jump overboard. But, Patricia goes, aren't you glad you didn't jump overboard because it's Shark Shoal? And we just started cracking up laughing. You're going to get eaten by the sharks before the pirates come, before we get rescued. So it was like that kind of humor.
When did that happen?
2004. And it was a very volatile time. It was right off the coast of Yemen. Yemen was in a civil war. Brett Bush was just reelected. As you know, Republicans are not well liked. And there was a lot of chaos going on 2 years after September 11th or 3, I don't remember. But NATO formed a coalition of warships that monitor the Red Sea. And I had heard a female voice. It's so funny what you retain in your memory on a warship called Warship 68. And I was upset because not one man was answering her. So when a man would inquire a ship and say, what's your cargo, destination, port of call, no, they would get answered. The woman would ask, they wouldn't answer. So we had this whole conversation on the bridge. What is it about a woman's voice the man won't answer? And I remembered that warship and they rescued us.
Wow. God, you've literally just experienced it all. For anyone out there listening, could you give us sort of any tips on sort of being resilient or this leadership skill that you're talking about, leading with integrity and respect?
Yes, absolutely. Like if you respect yourself, then you will respect others. So start there. Start with yourself. I use music to shift my mindset. So before I come out of my cabin, if I'm angry with a crew member, I'll play, that CeeLo song, F you. Sometimes.
Yes.
Or I'll play, a happy song like Boogie Shoes where I'm like, feeling good. So it resets my brain. Music is powerful. Music can shift your mind. Music can empower you or depress you. Choose the song that empowers you. If you go through a breakup, allow yourself to have those feelings and play those sad songs. Like I love Adele. I've seen her twice in Vegas. And if it wasn't for her breakup, she wouldn't have music. That's what she talks about. So
all of her best-selling albums have come from breakups.
Yes, she talks about that. She's so funny. And you can tell I love the British people. So basically, use music. It's your tool. It's your superpower. Mine. I reset my brain all the time. I've had cancer. I've had heart attack. I felt like the whole world was crashing down around me, but it wasn't. I always think about these things happen for a reason. I had the motorcycle crash so they could discover kidney cancer. All these things happen to wake me up and shake me up. So I get out there and and help others. And that's really what the journey is. It's not about consuming, polluting, and wasting. It's about using your time and your energy to go out there. Of course, you're meant to make money, but give back, because giving back is truly the gift of life. And that's really how I feel.
Oh gosh, Sandy, I need you sort of at the end of the phone every single day. I need you for when I give birth.
Yeah, but you are.
I need you to be my birth partner.
Well, I watched that show too. What was it? The Midwife, Call the Midwife. What a great show! The journey of childbirth.
British culture. I love how invested you are in like all of these British shows. I love it. Tell me, of all the places that you've got to travel, and what a wonderful life you'd have traveling around the world, on these boats. Where has been some of the best food you've eaten?
Italian, and the reason I say Italian is because Italy, the way they do fish. I like France. I love the French food, but I'm not a sauce person. And Spain is great. Greek is Greek, right? So but Italy, it's the way they do their food. If I had to choose the cuisine, it would be Italian.
Okay. And do you have any restaurants that are sort of your favorite restaurants? Anywhere, could be in Florida or around the world.
You're going to crack up. Honestly, I have to say I love a burger, so,
okay.
I love a good burger on the grill. So there's a grill over there. I have my brother-in-law grill all the time. And because grilled food, I just love that charcoal grilled food. The best restaurant I've ever eaten in, it's a French restaurant, Bill Bouquet. It's in New York.
Okay.
But, they have a chicken dish. It's so crazy I say that. That is absolutely delicious. I love fish is my favorite food. I'm trying to be more, save the fish friendly, but I love fresh fish. That is, if I had to choose a food my last meal would be fish or crab.
Okay. Nice. Oh, I love crab. So are you quite a good cook?
No, I make great oatmeal. I'll wash the dishes.
You know your place.
Yes, I'm a dishwasher. I'm a great dishwasher.
I love it.
I love to eat.
Story of my life.
Yeah.
Okay, I always finish my chats with a few quick fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, what is the craziest food you've ever eaten?
Sushi. Raw.
Sushi?
Raw sushi. I don't eat raw.
What do you think of it?
It was good, but it was the thought that I'm eating flesh.
So you like things well done?
I like it well done. I know it's terrible.
Okay. Okay. This is why I love these questions, because it's just everyone's version of crazy as well. It's just such a wide range. Okay. What's been your most memorable meal?
My most memorable meal was in a Bill Bouquet with friends.
And that's the chicken dish?
Yes.
Would you rather be the interior staff or the deck staff?
Outside. Deck.
Okay.
Yes. Interior's hard.
Think about this.
Hard.
So I analyze this in every single episode, and I sit there and I think, who do I want to be? Where is my position in all of this? I think because there's so much pressure on the chef, because it's just one person, I don't know if I could do the chef. But I think I'd want to be deck as well, because I want to be out. I don't want to be outside,
Yeah.
The interior is tough, man. They've got a serious job.
Absolutely. It's a hard job.
Yeah.
It is hard.
I don't know how some of them could deal with it, honestly.
Yeah. And plus, when you're outside, you're in the water, you're getting sun. It's great. You're not like on the grind every day. The interior is the hardest job on board.
Totally.
For sure.
Because you're kind of wearing quite a few different hats as well.
Yes. And you're constantly dealing with the guests. And they're
exactly. And all the dynamics that come with that. Okay. So my favorite snack of all time is what you guys call a packet of chips. We call them crisps over in the UK. What's your favorite flavor of crisps and why?
I like the salt and vinegar. I like that because it's yours too.
Yes. Oh my God. I don't know what's just happened to my video, but I've got like loads of fireworks coming up behind me.
Yeah.
Brilliant answer. That's a very British answer as well.
I think I'm part UK.
I love this. Yeah, this one,
Yeah.
we claimed you as our own anyway.
Yeah.
That's fine. Because also, salt and vinegar have only very recently come over to America. It never used to be a flavor.
Listen, and when I get fish and chips, I want the vinegar. Over here, they give you tartar sauce. I'm like, where's the vinegar? Like, I like that.
Love it. Oh, I love it. Okay. What food sums up happiness for you?
Chocolate cake.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
And a
She's
glass
got
of
sweet
milk.
tooth.
Yes.
Love it. Well, you get to know about someone so well with these questions. Okay. Final question. Live to eat or eat to live?
I eat to live. I'm that person.
I think that's quite understandable with a lot of the stuff that you've gone through.
Yeah. So I even said to my brother-in-law, like, why do you stand and eat? Sit. So at least I sit and eat. And Leah lives to eat. So it's another restaurant.
Got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I totally get that. And I think, it does take moments such as health scares or, living through something to kind of just slightly change the mentality a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Sandy, this has been probably one of the greatest moments of my career. You are so inspirational, not just to me, but honestly to basically the world, let's be honest. I hope one day that our paths will cross. I would love to take you out for dinner in London.
Let's make it happen.
Absolutely. And just please continue doing what you're doing.
Thank
and
you.
in my next life, I would like to work on your boat.
And bring your baby as your helper.
I'll bring the baby. There we go. Let's start them young.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So much.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you for listening. If you love what you hear, please subscribe and review. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram @CrazySexyFood. Until next time, bye.